All right, welcome back to the shop. So this is another video on this M1114 Humvee. In the last video, you guys saw that I finally got it started, and I found a couple of oil leaks. I found the one here on this cooler, so I bypassed that hose. That was in the last video. And then, let me climb up here. There's on the back of the engine here, they have an engine oil pressure sensor right here for the gauge, and then there's a hose that comes off of it. And that hose rotted out. So here's the end that goes, I'm getting in the sun here. Here's the end that goes down to the block, down in the center, or kind of in the back of the valley, the engine valley, down in the bottom of it, is where this screws into. So this should be like, has a little bit of a stem on it, has an inverted flange with a spinning nut on it. I did order a new hose. It's going to be coming here sometime this week, but I want to get this thing started so I can, when I start it, but I want to get it so I can run it, so I can get it off my trailer. So in this video, what I'm going to do, climb up here a little better. I'm going to pull this intake tube off right here, and from that boot all the way to the tube right here where it goes to the turbo, I'm going to slide that out of there, and then I should be able to access that pretty good. And there is an adapter that goes into the valley. Looks like it's probably like a 3/8 pipe or something like that. I'm not sure yet what it is, but I want to get that whole adapter out because this part that's off of this hose is rusted into it, so it's going to be rotted. So I want to get that fitting out, and then I can for right now I could just put a plug in it, or if I can find another hose just to screw into it, and instead of using that inverted flange I can always just use a pipe thread, and that way at least I could start this thing and run it long enough to get it off my trailer. Onto this hose clamp here. There we go. Yeah, this whole thing's rocking pretty loose. Now I'm gonna have to go into the cab to get to the other clamp. Okay, so hopefully the camera will pick that up. Down the side here, there's a blue silicone hose for that intake pipe, and then there's a clamp on there. Just take a 7/16 socket. Alright, let me run that nut on just a little bit so it don't fall off. There we go. So now that's loose. I'm going to go back up on top and see if I can work that thing out of there. You can see where all this oil kind of was running down the back from where that hose blew off. There's still a bunch of oil sitting in the valley. So I was going to try to kind of sneak in here and get to it. It's right here in front of the turbo, straight down, to see if I can pull it out, but there's a bunch of oil and dirt down in the valley, and I don't want it to run back into the oil port. So I've got to pull this whole tube out of there so I can see if I can mop it all up out of there. And then we'll see, hopefully we can get that thing out. I hope it's not stuck in there real bad. So let's get over and get that tube out. Okay, see if that camera angle's good enough. Hopefully it is. This rubber boot is really stiff. I'm gonna have to pull this air filter assembly back off. All right, so to get this air filter assembly off, I just have to loosen these two hose clamps here, and then I'll be able to pull it right out of there. Yeah, that'll come out of there. Let me set the camera back down. Oh, that's sharp. Jeez. Alright, so get that off of there. Let me set it in the back seat. Alright, swing the camera back around. Alright, hopefully we can get this thing out of here easy enough. There's a bunch of hoses on here, all those extra AC hoses for the rear air conditioner, which I'm gonna have to gut all that later anyways, because I'm gonna pull this slant back off. God, look at that. Stainless steel hose clamp rotted through. Crazy. Come on. That hose is married to that turbo. There we go. She's coming loose now. I got this hose here for that engine breather. I might have to pull this hose off of the tube here. here. There we go. No, it's plastic. I thought it was going to be aluminum or something. Alright, so let's get the camera down in here. See what we can see. Still quite a ways down in there. I might need to unbolt this elbow off of the turbo. If I can. I'm not sure if I can unbolt that. There's probably a third bolt's down on the bottom. Yeah, it is. I don't think I'll be able to get to it. I'm going to clean some of this stuff out of the way and then see if I can just get a socket on that fitting, and maybe I can pull it out that way. Okay, so I got the oil sucked out of the valley. I use this right here. It's one of those oil sucker things. Looks like a grease gun, but it's got a hose on the end. That worked really good. I was able to suck most of the oil out of there. And now I tried putting a socket just on that fitting at first, part of, that was originally on the hose, and it wouldn't do anything. So I got a 3/4 inch socket, and I got it on the adapter fitting that goes in the block, and I got it loose. So I just want to get the camera in here, show you guys what I got. This long ratchet here. I'm able to, so I'll be able to get that out. All right, I just got it. Pull this up, try not to drop it in the intake tube. All right, here's the adapter. It's pretty specialized looking. I don't think it's piped there. I think it's gonna have a seal on it. So I'm gonna have to reach in there and see if I can find the seal, and get that all cleaned up. And then if I can get this part of the hose fitting out of here, that'll be cool. If not, I'm gonna have to either go buy a new fitting or hope that the hose comes with it. I'm not sure if it does. All right, so I don't know if the camera's picking that up down in there, but there's a lot of kind of crud down there. Yeah, there you go. You can see the hole there. I'm trying to wipe it up. I was reaching in there with a long screwdriver to kind of scrape it, and then I realized I forgot I'd bought these. Got these at Harbor Freight, and these things are really cool. They got this real long Q-tip kind of thing. It's really big round. It's about 5/8 of an inch round right there. And I'm gonna see if I can reach down in there with it, so I can wipe that up. So, dang it! I just dropped it. There it is. I'm gonna reach in around from the other side. There we go. I'm able to kind of flick that garbage. I probably should have blew that off before I pulled the fitting out. But yeah, I don't see a seal on there, like a copper seal or anything. So I'm gonna have to investigate and see what kind of a fitting that is. I really don't know what it is. I'm more working on heavy equipment than automotive stuff, and I do a lot of automotive stuff, but I've never seen a fitting quite like that. So I gotta figure out what that is. And if I just need a copper gasket for it, that's all cool. When I did look at a hose online, it kind of looked like it's got that fitting on the end of it, so I'm hoping it does. But if not, I'm going to see what I can do with this fitting. Hopefully I can fix it up. All right, so it's the next day since I took this apart. I was able to get this out. I was able to unscrew this hose end from here, and it's what I thought it was. It's an inverted flange. There was a hoser shop in Temecula that I used to use, and they're not there anymore. They're out of business. So I ended up going down to Cat and getting this one made. First I stopped at Napa to see if they had any fittings, because they have some. They used to have a lot better selection, but they aren't restocking anymore, he told me a while back. And I dug through there and I actually found the right one. So these two, I have no idea what that thread is, but I got it, and it has a, best I could find, it has a 3/8 male on there. So I had to have a hose made with a 3/8 male. The closest I can get Cat to do is put a 3/8 male swivel on there, and then a 1/4 inch NPT on there. And then this will, I had this brass coupler here, and this will screw into here. So this end will go into the block, and then this end will go to the pressure sensor. So hopefully all this will fit in there. If it doesn't, I'm gonna have to wait. I did order the parts from a place called the Hummer Parts Guy, and he has Hummer and Humvee parts. And I was able to order what I believe is this fitting. The diagram was really crude, so I couldn't really tell, but I think I ordered this fitting and then this hose. And the hose is like an OEM one from a.m.General, so it's the actual original hose that he had in stock, but he hasn't shipped them yet, and it's been 2 days now. So if this setup here doesn't work, then I just have to wait for the stuff that he sent me, and then I'll just have to drag this thing off the trailer. So I really need to get it off this trailer. I've just been hoping to drive it off just to give it some dignity, you know. All right, so I got it started in there. I screwed it in there and got it started, and it actually stiffened up a little bit. I'm hoping it goes in there okay. But while it's in there, I'm going to shoot some starting fluid down in there just to clean the surface right there, because that fitting looks like it seals directly with that surface. So I want to get that clean. Then I'll back this whole thing back out, and then I'll kind of get all the fittings taped up or put some pipe dope or whatever on them, some Teflon stuff on there to seal it all up. And then I can come back and screw it all together. Okay, so I test fit this. I put it together without the sealant first, and I was able to get that to screw into the port on the block. And then to tighten it up, I'm going to have to use this, I guess it's a crow's foot, and get it in there. I'm going to get like just a little turn at a time. It's going to take quite a while actually, because this thing's going to thread all the way in, and it only starts up like this much. When I took this old one out, I used the ratchet on it all the way out, so it's going to be a bit of a pain. I think I'm going to put this copper gasket in there too, and just to make sure that we have something to seal good. It'll eat, you know, dig into any imperfections on the block. So I use to seal those threads, I use this here, the Permatex thread sealant, number 80632. This stuff is incredible. It is so tacky, and it works really good. Look how goopy that stuff is. If you get it on your hands, you wish you didn't for like a couple of days. So I'm going to use some of that also on this here, just a little bit on the threads, but mostly on here, because it'll hold this in place while I go to set it in there to get it started, and it might lubricate, well, it will lubricate the threads a little bit so it'll turn easier. That's one of the things with Teflon is that they say it does help seal, but the main thing is that it also lubricates the threads so you can get it tighter when you're doing like a tapered pipe fitting. So, and then this is a swivel joint, which is good, because when I get this all screwed in, I won't have to pull the sensor off to screw this end on. I'll be able to just twist the hose, and I'll be able to screw it right in. I'll put some Teflon on there and screw it into the adapter for the pressure sensor. Okay, so my idea of the fittings that I had with this hose, it was going to be way too hard to tighten this up. It was going to take forever to run that in with the crow's foot. So I came up with a different idea. I'm just going to use this push lock hose, or not push lock, but this nylon hose, because I've got these fittings where you just slide it in and it locks, and if you want to take it out, you push the ring back, the collar back, and then just slide the hose back out. So it's good for 250 psi, so it should be able to handle 60 psi of oil pressure, and it doesn't run anywhere near the hot side of the turbo, which is good. So I just got my fittings and I put that on there so I can get this started and just put a socket on there and run it in with the ratchet, just the same way I took the old fitting out. And then I've got an adapter right here, 1/4 inch female pipe to that 1/4 inch push to lock stuff, and I'll put this on the sensor and just push it in. Be a piece of cake. So that's what I'm going to do now. It'll make it a lot easier. All right, so you can see I got it started in there. I've got this little short ratchet on there. To get that started down in the hole, I just stuck some of this tube into it, and then I was able to reach down in there and use this to spin it to get it started. And then I just had to reach in with the screwdriver to push on the collar and pull this hose back out so that I can get my socket on there. So I've got an 11/16 deep socket on there, and I'm just cranking it in right now. Once I get that tightened up, all I gotta do is push I'll cut a longer piece of this red hose and connect it in there, connect it to the sensor, and then I'll finally be done with this. I've got the push to lock hose pushed into the fitting down there in the center of the block, and I've changed the fitting to this swivel 90-degree one, and I've got it routed around the air intake part so it's not anywhere near the heat from the turbo. And now I just got to cut it and then slide it into here, and that'll be it. All right, so I'm just going to cut it so it's at a good length where it's not rubbing on other stuff. Right about here. This is the best way to cut these, is with these cutters like this, because then you don't get, if you cut it with wire cutters, it almost just pinches it, you know. And these have a razor blade in it, so it cuts it in a really straight, flat, so there's a really straight, flat face on it. All right, so hopefully the camera picks it up, but you can see the red hose coming out of the fitting down there. And I've got my elbow back on, got my air cleaner back on. I think I've got all my tools picked up. So let's come down here and now we'll see if we have oil pressure on the gauge, because before, remember, we didn't have any because it was just blowing out. Where'd it go? Charging, that's good. We got oil pressure, that's good. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and roll this thing off the trailer, and that'd be kind of cool. You know, watch the forklift put it on, and then just with a few hours of work, being able to just drive it off. I still have a lot to do to it. I still have to fix this cooler here, so I can get these lines back on, get this bracket back where it goes. Shocks are almost rusted through in the front, but fortunately I had 4 of these shocks sitting here that a friend of mine gave me, so thank you, Alan. And we got a lot of other stuff to do. We got CV boots to do, we've got a whole host of stuff, but there's gonna be a lot of videos on this thing. All right, I don't know if you saw the panic in my face, but I felt like I had brakes, but I didn't. So I'm gonna have to figure out what's wrong with the brakes. Fortunately, the parking brake worked. So here it is, it drove off the trailer. It was put on with a forklift, and just with a, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 hours of work maybe, got it running and was able to drive it off. So it's gonna need a lot more. So just keep your eye out for more videos on this thing. So thanks for watching. Please hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe if you haven't already.